Hello, my name is Olga, and this is my channel about startups. And today I have my first interviewee, and we will be discussing English accent. And Patrick is a professional English accent trainer. Patrick, very glad that you came here and talked to me. Maybe can you briefly give a little bit briefly describe your background and what you do?
Absolutely. Thank you very much for having me on today. My name is Pat. I come from Toronto, from Canada. I live in Mexico. Between 2013 and currently 2023, must have been about 7 years. I've been mostly here in Mexico. It's been
Wow.
wonderful. Yeah. I started teaching business English. I saw that the city I live in has tons of American businesses. And I quickly found that my clients were great with grammar, great with vocabulary. They needed practice speaking. They needed practice getting it out and learning how to effectively communicate sounds, how to move their mouth muscles to, just make the sounds of the American accent. So yeah, a few years ago, I started researching that, developing materials for my clients, and I guess it's been about 5 years now, and I'd say I'm a bit of a specialist, or at least on my way to becoming a specialist. You never stop learning, but
Yeah.
I love doing this. I love seeing people develop a new sound. Yeah.
Is that correct that your clients are entrepreneurs and businessmen?
Many of them. I do get people of all sorts, doctors and uh, actors, but for the last few months, I've been taking on a lot of entrepreneurs, I've been noticing a lot of people in the Bay Area, specifically in San Francisco or California
Silicon
in
Valley.
general. Aha, exactly.
Okay. Can you rebuild your accent as a grown-up? Is that possible?
It is. Accent is a habit. It's a speech habit. When we're kids, from 4 months of age, on average, we begin learning skills to speak. We start absorbing the sounds around us and we start mimicking them, trying to match what we hear. This is why kids can learn languages so quickly. When we're about 14, our body, of course, has other things to develop. We grow a lot, we go through puberty, and so our brain puts less focus on the language learning, more focus on other things. So it starts to slow down. And then after the age of, I'd say, 23 to 26, it becomes, your brain is like solidified as this is the language skills that I need to survive.
Mm-hmm.
So beyond that, what it takes is clear recognition and clear repetition of the sounds, the patterns of a language in order to develop a new sound. You have to be very focused and aware, but I've seen people of all ages pull off incredible feats with their language.
Can I rebuild my accent the way that people will not understand that I'm Russian, for example?
I'd
Or is
say
it
you
possible?
Yeah, I would say, in full disclaimer, I haven't had anybody who's completely lost, every trace of their accent. I've never seen it. 100% haven't seen. Um, but absolutely, you can mask it to the point where people could tell, yeah, you're probably European, but they would have no idea where from.
Mhm.
Or even to the point where in a small conversation, it wouldn't really, catch anybody's attention that you're a foreigner in a small conversation. Or if you have like a practice script, an elevator pitch, something like that. If you get the sounds and the patterns and the delivery in a particular style and you practice it hundreds of times, you can totally pull off a flawless accent with it. But
Mhm.
it would be limited to that script.
Mhm. So, according to my accent, what do you think? How many hours do I need to polish my accent to make it more American, etc.?
I see on average The average student does two 25-minute classes with me in a week. I see those people move very slowly if they don't practice consistently between classes. It's like they hardly pick anything up, really. So in terms of class time, I would say I would recommend 2 to 3 hours a week of practicing. However, I would also recommend taking time beyond the class and actively applying what you've learned, whether it's noting new sounds that you hear, like shadowing from a TV show or a specific source that you enjoy listening to, or speaking with a colleague or a friend. There are absolutely steps that you want to be taking to maintain that progress.
Or listening to your podcast, right?
Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, the Accent Training Podcast is designed to help you identify sounds and start to use them and work them into your life without much difficulty.
So you mentioned that you work a lot with entrepreneurs, especially from Bay Area and Mexico as well. What do you think is their reason to try to get rid of their accent? Do you think it benefits their business?
I think that the main reason is if they are trying to speak with investors from America. These investors are the clearer that you can communicate your message in the way that your investor or your listener wants to or is expecting to hear it, is anticipating the words to come out, then for one, the better received the message will be, but also the better, now I got to think of my words clearly. The better that it will, okay. In short, sorry, I'm overthinking my point. What I'm trying to say is simply that if you have the right words and the right sounds, the way that somebody is looking to hear them, then they will fully listen to what you have to say, and they will likely engage more with what you're saying. Whereas it's not always about the words that you're using, but the delivery of those words. A lot of the context of American speech is communicated with the tone of our voice, questions, and if we're angry or if we're excited. It's all about how we raise up our tone and make it go flat, and when to do it or when to pause to kind of paint a picture in someone's mind. So what I'm saying is this benefits my clients mostly in the delivery of their speech, so that their investors, their potential clients for themselves, can hear what they have to say and have no difficulty understanding the message.
So we were arguing in my chat that I have in Telegram with my listeners from YouTube channel, that they were saying that, well, what is most important is the idea itself, the project, the traction, etc. And accent is not that important, because like if investors need accent, then it means they don't need the idea or the business itself. So what are your thoughts about that?
I would say that it's not the most important thing. Of course, there's so many, what it comes down to, investors, they just want their money back, and they want to make money on their investment. They want a good ROI. And I can absolutely respect that. What I would say is that it's good to have your accent. Your accent is a part of you. However, accent is just a specific regional way of communicating. So is how we could look at that. And so, of course, across the United States, there are so many accents. But when we're talking about the clarity of pronunciation and the fluidity of the message and understanding the speech patterns and why you want to raise your tone up or why you want to make it go flat, when you understand all of the mechanics behind that, you have such an advantage over somebody who doesn't. is really what it comes down to. And of course, yeah, when you're talking about trying to close $1 million deal, or trying to get whatever it is that you're trying to get out of somebody, there are so many people coming to this exact same person with a similar message. And so I would argue that indeed having even a slight advantage in terms of pronunciation, and if you can determine some regional accent which you feel boosts your English, then absolutely, I think it is very important in that sense.
So I just think we're not talking about changing your personality. I think it doesn't matter how many hours I spend training my accent, people can still say I'm not American, right? So it's not about changing my personality. It's more about like presentation skills. And, for example, I noticed that you Americans and Canadians, you raise your tone quite often. Whereas we, for example, Russians, we speak like that. So there is constant, I don't know, musical tone that doesn't really raise over a sentence. So I think it's very important. I think that the fact that you change the tone of your voice really helps to kind of boost attention when people, get tired of what you present, and they, start browsing in their iPhone, and then you just constantly changing your tone, and it really helps.
Yeah. Would you mind if I were to give a brief demonstration
Sure.
of something that, yeah, because something that I've done for myself, as I said, I live in Mexico. Spanish is my second language. I speak it quite fluently. And after about maybe 2 or 3 years here in Mexico, I started dating a nice girl who's now my wife. And when we started dating, she told me, "You pronounce your T's and your D's really weird. The way that I would pronounce my letter D, for example, would sound like the R, like the rolled R in Russian or in Spanish." What it came down to was as simple as I had to make my T's and D's by pressing my tongue to my teeth instead of having my tongue kind of a little bit further back on the bump behind my teeth. So what I'd like to demonstrate here is, I imagine many of your listeners are Russian or Eastern European based, or at least speakers of these languages. And so many of your listeners would benefit from this. For the letters T and D, what you want to do is, instead of having them pronounced on your teeth, pronounce them a little bit further back. The result of this will be that transitioning in and out of different sounds in English is going to be much easier than if you were to try to force Russian sounds into the English language. So for myself, when I speak Spanish with Mexicans, they tell me I don't sound like a typical gringo. I don't sound like a typical white guy. And it's simply because I pronounce my T's and D's the Mexican way instead of the American way. And this simple change that you can make, it's just something that, start applying it. Have your T's and D's. Everybody listening, just feel with your tongue right behind your teeth. There's a little bump there. And if you build up some air and you go, tss, tss, even give that a shot there, Olga. Let's hear what you got. Making that. Tss. Aha.
Can you give an example of a word?
Exactly. Yes, absolutely. A word. Here's a couple of words. Take your time. Can I hear you repeat that back to me? Getting your tongue behind your teeth on the bump. Take your time.
Take your time.
That's it. That's it. How about this here? Let's see. Do okay, I don't know. Do a deal. How about that? Do a deal.
Do a deal.
Yeah. Do you feel that your tongue back there on that palate? How does it feel having your tongue in that position?
Well, weird. I would if I had to say that, I would say do a deal. See, so it's a little bit different. Do a deal.
Yeah, exactly. It's weird. And that's just a couple of common words, right? So when we're talking about changing all of your muscle memory so that it kind of matches and flows along, it feels very weird and it's a real workout. But
Mm-hmm.
it's all about, yeah, just learning those fundamental positions and then building upon it. Kind of just taking things that you know or things that are close to what you know, changing them a little bit, and then making them build larger and larger. That's what it's all about.
Cool. That's
Yeah,
interesting. So, Patrick, thank you so much for your time today. I will share your podcast and your Instagram and other resources for those who might be interested in, improving their accent at some point. Thank you so much.
absolutely. Thank you very much, Olga. Have a good one.
Bye.